You know, a book has me when I stop reading silently. I am no longer just sitting there turning the pages. I'm giving advice that nobody asked for. I'm warning fictional people about decisions that they have already made. And I'm questioning everybody's motives. And apparently, at some point, I become convinced that these characters can actually hear me. I'm saying things like, girl, it's him. What are you doing? Y'all are going to get caught. Mary, I believe you. Wait, do I believe you? And sometimes everybody in this book is crazy. And I've learned something. If I'm talking back to a book, that's usually a compliment. Because somehow that author has made these fictional people real enough that I have decided they need my advice. So today we are talking about 5 books that had me having full conversations with the pages. And trust me, none of these people listen to me.
Slow, turn the page, find your peace in this space, honey and prose. Welcome home.
Hey Book Nook crew, welcome back to Honey and Prose, where we talk about stories, softness, and the emotional experience of reading. Now, there are different levels of being invested in a book. There's, oh, this is good. Then there's, I wonder what's going to happen. And then there's the level where you're sitting alone in your house saying, ma'am, please. That's where these books had me. And these aren't all the same type of book either. One had me frustrated because I wanted the woman to stop carrying everything alone. One had me watching 2 people play with fire and wondering how they had burned the whole house down. One had me playing matchmaker. One had me questioning whether I could trust the person whose side I had been on the entire time. And one, well, everybody in that book needed professional supervision. So there will be some light plot spoilers because I have to explain what had me yelling, but I'm not going to spoil the endings. Let's start with Hendrix. Hendrix, girl. If you have read Can't Get Enough, then you already know Hendrix is very much her own woman. She's independent, she's capable, she has built a life for herself, and she is not sitting around waiting for somebody to come rescue her. Normally, I love that. Actually, I still love that about her, but Hendrix was also carrying a lot. A major part of what she was dealing with was her mother's care. And I don't mean she was simply checking in on her every once in a while and asking her how you're feeling. She was trying to coordinate what her mother needed, thinking about her well-being, making decisions, trying to make sure things were handled. She was trying to figure out what needed to happen next. And that kind of caregiving takes up space in your life. It isn't just the appointment. It's remembering the appointment, coordinating the appointment, wondering what happened at the appointment, figuring out what comes after the appointment. And underneath all of that is the emotional weight of watching somebody you love need more care. So I understood Hendrix. I understood why she felt like I do not have room for one more thing, because she was already trying to be everything for everybody. But this is where I started talking to her, because at some point I was like, Hendrix, girl, you have got to get out of your own way. There's a difference between knowing you're capable of handling things on your own and convincing yourself that because you can do everything alone, you should. And I felt like Hendrix kept bumping up against that line. She had built this wall around herself, and I completely understood why the wall existed. But meanwhile, I'm on the other side of the page saying, okay, but could we open the gate occasionally, crack it, let somebody in? Because sometimes self-protection start looking a whole lot like self-sabotage. And that's what made her frustrating in a way, and it still made me love her. I wasn't irritated because she was badly written. Quite the opposite. I was irritated because she felt like somebody I knew. You know, the friend who keeps telling you she's fine while you can clearly see she's carrying 17 things in both hands, and you're like, put it down. That was me with Hendrix. So Can't Get Enough gave me my first kind of talking back book. I understood exactly why you're doing this, but you're still getting on my nerve. And I bet you all were thinking about her, that I was going to say about her relationship with old boy. No, because I could connect with her on that level of caring for her mother, that was what stood out the most for me with Hendrix. Now, soul ties, this book had me stressed for an entirely different reason. Because Sienna and Jahad had me saying, y'all are gonna get caught over and over and over again. Sienna is coming out of a long-term relationship when she meets Jahad at this exclusive club where, let's just say, anything goes. And anything definitely went. Jahad is married. His wife Leighton is pregnant and on bed rest, and she is giving him a pass. So that first encounter with Sienna wasn't him secretly sneaking behind his wife's back. But what was supposed to be one situation becomes much more complicated when Sienna and Jahad's lives collide again, because Sienna becomes Leighton's doula, his pregnant wife's doula. When I tell you I sat up, because I immediately started thinking, oh, this is about to be a problem. They had crossed that line. They knew that the chemistry was there. And now Sienna is in their home. She's involved in Leighton's care, and their lives are no longer separate. And Sienna and Jahad keep trying to convince themselves we can stay away from each other. Meanwhile, I'm reading like, no, you cannot. And that would have been one thing if they actually made smart choices after realizing the situation that they were in. They did not. They kept taking the chances. And every single time they did, I was sitting there like, somebody is going to see y'all. Then the housekeeper called them. The housekeeper. And at that point, I thought, okay, surely this is it, right? This is a moment where everybody realizes we have gotten entirely too comfortable. Surely now they're going to behave. Nope. Apparently being caught was not enough information for them. They still could not stay away from each other. And the whole time I'm trying to manage these grown fictional people from my chair. Sienna, go home. Jahad, sit down. Why are y'all standing that close to each other? And what made it worse was that I understood why they were struggling. There was something real developing between them. It wasn't simply physical anymore. Their connection kept pulling them back toward each other. But I also understood that the stakes were getting higher every single time they took another chance. And that's what had me yelling. I didn't dislike the relationship. I was terrified of the consequences. So, Soul Ties gave me talking back category number 2. I know y'all have feelings, but could you please stop playing with fire? And no, they could not. Then we have Curvy Girl Summer by Danielle Allen. And this was me becoming the unsolicited dating coach. This book centers Aaliyah, who is turning 30 and is not in a serious relationship. And let me tell you how Danielle Allen introduced me to Aaliyah. The book starts out steamy with one of Aaliyah's side pieces. And I remember thinking, well, damn, okay, nice to meet you too. There was no easing us into Aaliyah's life. We arrived and she said, here's who I am. Catch up. And I actually like that because Aaliyah wasn't being written like a sad woman who was sitting at home thinking, oh no, I'm almost 30 and nobody loves me. She had a life. She had options. She was enjoying herself. But she did want somebody to take as her date to her 30th birthday party. So she starts dating around. And one night she goes to this bar near her place because she has one of these dates. And that's where she meets Ahmad, the bartender. Ahmad decides he's going to help her with this whole dating situation. And meanwhile, I can see what's happening. They are spending time together. They're talking. There's chemistry. Their relationship is developing right in front of us. And Aaliyah is still focused on these other dates. So every time Ahmad came onto the page, I'm still sitting there like, girl, it's him. Forget these other men. Your man is standing behind the bar. And this is such a specific kind of romance reader frustration because sometimes we know before the character knows. We can see the emotional intimacy forming. We catch the little moments. We notice the way they talk to each other. We see how comfortable they're becoming. And we're still sitting outside the story like, can't you see what I see? Meanwhile, Aaliyah is still out there interviewing candidates like we haven't already filled the position. And what made this one fun is that I wasn't yelling at Aaliyah because she was doing something wrong. I wasn't even really annoyed with her. I was impatient because I already knew where I wanted her heart to land. And I needed her to catch up. That is a completely different kind of investment. I wasn't afraid for her like I was with Sienna. I wasn't frustrated with her walls like I was with Hendrix. I was just sitting there going, baby, the answer is right there. So Curvy Girl Summer gave me, girl, your man has been standing in front of you this entire time. And apparently, characters do not appreciate being rushed through their own love stories. Who knew? And now we get to allegedly. This one had me talking back because I did not know who to trust. Mary B. Addison was only 9 years old when she was accused of unaliving a baby. By the time we meet her in the present day portion of her story, she's older and living in a group home type setting after everything happened with her case. The story moves between her present life and information and interviews surrounding what happened. And Mary keeps saying she didn't do it. Her mother did. Now, let me tell you something. I did not like Mary's mother at all. From the beginning, something about that woman had me side-eyeing every interaction. And Mary is trying to get her mother to admit what happened. She wanted her to confess. And her mother basically responds by telling Mary that she needs to understand how her own actions caused everything. And I'm sitting there like, ma'am, this is your child. What are we doing? Meanwhile, Mary becomes pregnant. and suddenly her future matters in a completely different way. She's not simply trying to clear her name because she wants people to believe her. She has a child coming. She wants a different life, and I wanted that for her. I wanted justice for Mary. I wanted somebody to listen to this girl. I wanted somebody to say, wait, maybe we didn't get this right. So I'm rooting for her. I'm angry for her. I'm mad at her mother. I'm mad at the system. And then Tiffany D. Jackson starts giving you little things. Just enough. And suddenly I'm looking at Mary like, girl, did your mama really do this? And that is how I spent this book. Why won't anybody listen to Mary? 5 pages later, Mary, tell me the truth. Then her mama is awful. And then, but Mary, what exactly happened? I was going back and forth like I was on the jury, and that's what made the reading experience so good, because the book made me desperately want an answer while constantly reminding me that I was receiving information through people who already had their own motives, memories, fears, and versions of the event. I couldn't comfortably settle. And that's a difference from a book where I know exactly what's going on and I'm just waiting for the characters to figure it out. With Allegedly, I didn't know either. I was right there with Mary trying to put the pieces together, while also occasionally wondering whether Mary was moving some of those pieces around. So this one gave me, I believe you, but do I? And if a book can make me argue with both sides of myself, it has me. And finally, 10,000 Hours with Rich Menace. Let me summarize my reading experience very simply. Everybody in this book was crazy. Everybody. Stevie, naive. Menace, psycho. The situations, outrageous. The relationship started under circumstances that should probably have required legal representation, and I loved every bit of it. The situation starts because Menace believes Stevie stole from him, and because this is Menace logic, we don't handle things in any kind of normal way. At the same time, he needs a wife and an heir. So they end up making this deal, and I'm already looking at Stevie like, ma'am, do you understand who you are dealing with? Because Menace was not giving calm, reasonable romantic hero. Menace was giving, oh, you said you don't like my baby? That man could turn a situation from 0 to 100 before I finished the paragraph. And I kept saying, Menace, sir, we cannot solve every problem like this. Meanwhile, Stevie is Stevieing, making decisions that had me wanting to grab her by the shoulders and say, think, just think for 5 minutes. And somehow through all of this madness, the arrangement turns into actual feelings. They fall in love. Because naturally these two crazy people find each other. And you know what? I bought it. By that point, I had stopped expecting anybody in that book to behave rationally. The train had left the station. Behavior had left the building. And common sense was not invited. So, unlike the other books, I wasn't really trying to save these people anymore. I was just sitting back and watching the madness like, oh, y'all are insane. Turn the page. Stevie, no. Turn the page. Menace, please. Turn the page. Well, I guess we're doing this now. And honestly, sometimes that is exactly what I want from a book. I don't always need everybody to make healthy decisions. I don't always need emotional maturity. Sometimes I want the fictional mess. Give me the outrageous situation. Give me the character who makes a decision so wild that I have to put the book down and stare into space for a second. Because if everybody made sensible choices, some of these books would be 30 pages long. So, 10,000 Hours with a Rich Menace gave me our final talking fact category. Everybody needs help, and I hope nobody gets it until the last chapter because I am entertained. And you know what I realized putting this list together? I didn't talk back to any of these books because I wasn't enjoying them. It was the opposite. I was talking back because I cared. I cared that Hendrix was carrying too much. I cared enough about Sienna and Jahad to worry about what was going to happen when all those chances finally caught up with them. I wanted Aaliyah to recognize what I could already see was developing with Ahmad. I wanted somebody to believe Mary while simultaneously needing Mary to convince me. And Stevie and Menace, I just wanted them to keep being ridiculous because apparently chaos brings me joy. But that's one of my favorite things about reading. For a few hundred pages, these people matter to you. Their choices matter. Their relationships matter. Their happiness matters. Their terrible decisions somehow become personally offensive. You forget that someone invented them. And you're just sitting there thinking, why would you do that? And maybe that's one of the best compliments we can give an author. You made me forget that I couldn't actually change the story. Because for a little while, I really thought these people needed to hear from me. So now I need to know, what book had you talking back to the page? And more importantly, what were you yelling? Was it, girl, leave that man alone? Or don't go in that house? Or stop lying? Or were you like me reading 10,000 Hours with a Rich Menace and thinking, everybody in here is crazy? Please continue. Tell me the book and your exact reaction in the comments because I already know those responses are going to be hilarious. And if you love talking about the books that make us laugh, yell, argue, worry, and somehow start giving life advice to fictional people, make sure you like this video, share it with your favorite reading friend, and subscribe to Honey and Prose. Now, go something warm, pick up something good, and I will see you in the next chapter.
Sweet like honey, let it flow. Every line got a little soul.